Kia ora. Thank you everybody for letting me come along today and have a bit of a chat. Hey look, firstly, I'd just like to say Brendan's announcement about these standards is amazing and unbelievable. It's something that's been the bane of my life for the last 6 years on the EWRB, and to finally get some traction and maybe make something happen will be amazing. So well done, Brendan. Thanks very much to your team for doing that. I've got a couple of little presentations. I'm going to whip through them really quickly. So you've probably got a lot of questions for me. So the EWRB, what we do, what we don't do. Our board's functions, we meet monthly. Our main functions: issue registrations, licences. We promote, monitor and review competency. We do about 50 or 60 hearings a year, and we have about 20 or 30 prosecutions a year. So prosecutions are non-registered or non-licensed electrical workers. And the fines, as you can see, go from 50 up to 250k. We delegate most of our operations to the registrar, and anything that he can't deal with comes to us. We're appointed by the Minister of Building and Construction and accountable to them. We can here today, gone tomorrow, so it's not a permanent role. What we don't do is that. We don't give advice. We're not in charge of any of that stuff. We don't control WorkSafe, energy safety standards, legislation. What we do though is provide some access to standards, and this is through your licensing fee. It used to have free on there, free access to standards. I took that out yesterday because I thought it's not free, you actually pay for it, but you do get access to over 90, I think it's about 97 standards on that website that you can access anytime you like. Use your RealMe or whatever login you use to get onto the EWRB portal. You get onto those standards, you've got them all, download them, print them, I don't care what you do with them, but just have them please, use them, they're great. Boring stuff, disciplinary matters. So we get a complaint, consider how serious it is. We can do an interim suspension if we feel it's serious enough, and we have. Goes to investigator, they investigate, give the complainant an opportunity to respond. They give us a recommendation whether we do need to hear it or not. That's a binding recommendation. We don't have any control over saying that. If it's a yes, there's a hearing. Complaints prosecuted by a lawyer for the investigators from MB. It's very formal. Don't do it. It's horrible. I hate doing it from my side of the table, let alone being on the other side. Investigators must prove their case on the balance of probabilities. We make a decision. It's a written decision. We can impose penalties, costs, order publication, and then we note all the stuff on the register. Generally, if you read the Electron, if any of you do, you'll see them all there. It's normally our most clicked on page. How to avoid them? That's easy. Just talk. Communicate with people. I can't reiterate, just talk. It's the most important thing you can do. Second most important thing you can do is do good quality certification. Don't write on your COC installed solar system. That just sucks. That does not cut the mustard. You need to put some detail on it, and you need to do that to protect yourselves so that if something happens in the future, say you do something to start with and then someone else comes along and does something, they do a shit job, you did a great job, they lay a complaint, and your complaint, because it's said installed solar system, oh, well, he did the whole lot, you're in charge, you're in the gunga now, mate, you're coming to see us. So just really, really good certification, even though there's only that small paragraph on the document. Most of you guys will be electronic now. Just add screeds and screeds of information, pages and pages, it's great. If you ever get kicked out of a site and you're not allowed to go back, take some action to make sure that if you were there that night, you finished, and there was something you thought, should I better go on to that first thing in the morning because it's not quite right. Something happens overnight, you're not allowed back on site. Phone a friend, say, hey, can you go to this job for me, sort this out, I need to get this sorted out, because don't leave it unsafe, that's when you really get into trouble. Next one, make sure your head's in the game. That's really important. So everyone has lives outside their jobs. We all do stuff that's not part of our job, and we have families and things, and shit happens. You go to work the next day, something's happened in your family, your mind's not really on the job. If you're doing something super technical and you're not really onto it, don't do it if you can. I mean, it's really easy for me to stand here and say, just do something simple, but when your boss wants you to go and do that technical job, again, go back to the top, communication, go to your boss, say, hey, I've got some shit going on in my life, it's personal, can I do something different today? And whether or not they let you is different. And take supervision seriously. Supervision companion guidelines. So hopefully everyone's seen this, it's on our website, you can grab it, have a look at it. It's got this little supervision matrix, so determines who can do what, so whether they're well trained and they can do stuff unsupervised, or whether they don't know what they're doing and they need to get some more direct supervision on that. And that changes from day to day or from during the day. So in the morning, you might have a third-year apprentice that's doing something that they're very, very good at, and they can do that unsupervised or via remote supervision, versus that afternoon you send them to do a job they've never done before, so realistically they need direct supervision. That's all there. It's pretty straightforward. Most of you in the room hopefully know all that. Remote supervision is not in Hawaii on the beach while your trainees are out working for you. That doesn't work, sorry. Authorised versus competent. I don't know if you can see the picture in the shower, but if you look close, there's a couple of light switches in there. It's a bit hard to see. This is an actual picture that we got at a hearing, so it's not made up. Electrical workers are authorised to carry out all PEW, and we're going to come to a little bit more about that soon. So at the moment, we can pretty much go and do anything as soon as you get an electrical licence, apart from inspection stuff. But authorised doesn't mean that you're competent. So we hear complaints all the time about authorised but not competent. So if you're doing stuff that you don't know what you're doing, please try and make sure that you do know what you're doing before you do it. Talk to your peers. Hopefully everyone in this room that does on the tools work, or anyone, even doing designs, anything, hopefully you've got some peers that you can have a chat with if you're not too sure about something, because again, that communication, if you start that communication early, it'll help you out. No one wants to do this, but if you're not too sure, phone a friend, get another licensed electrician or an inspector to come and check your work, even if it doesn't need it. Doesn't hurt. It's not going to, we should never be embarrassed to do that. Most of us are, but we shouldn't be. Then we move on to our toolbox. So when I said we don't provide any technical advice, because we got a lot of queries about it, we've developed the Electrical Workers Toolbox, which is basically an FAQ page on the website where you can go to look at the stuff that we get asked frequently. So here you go, which standards apply and where can I use them? Gives you a bit of an idea of what to use and where. Keep up to date, subscribe to the Electron, save the EWRB as a safe sender so you get all the updates, and keep your details up to date. Right, this is what you want to talk about, eh? Righto. I can't even read that from here. So 2019, there was some Gazette notices. 2023, there was a new Gazette notice. There were some changes. What is step licensing? So it's actually quite interesting because the pathway already existed where you could step off. No one really just knew about it and wasn't very easy to do. So what the step licensing has done is created a pathway where people can start and aim for electrician, but if something happens in the way and they want to step off, they can get to a certain level and step off, get a registration, go away, do something else, and then think, actually, I do want to be an electrician again, come back and get back on the path without running out of training licenses and having to do fourth limited applications and all that sort of rubbish. So it's just a pathway, an easier pathway to get to it. Entry pathways, EST, then you can become an installer, then you can become an electrician. You don't have to do all of that, you can just aim for electrician, but you can jump off along the way. So with the step licensing, the progressive rollout timeline, so from 1 September 2024 it starts happening, but we're not going to say you have to do everything from then. So you've got 12 months until 1 September 2025, and then you have to start complying with some of the notices in the Gazette, in the 2023 Gazette, but then you can still have a little bit more leeway. By 1 September 2026, all the Gazette 2023 Gazette notice requirements must be fulfilled. And then we come to endorsements. Now I'm just going to stop there briefly. Endorsements originally were not part of the step licensing program. We started with the step licensing, put it out to some parts of industry, and we got feedback saying, why don't we consider the endorsements? And it sort of took on a life of its own from there, and this is where we've ended up. So if you want to be able to work in some high-risk areas, we've created some endorsements: main parallel generation, medical cardiac, hazardous, mining, and supervision. We're working with various parties to create micro-credentialing or other qualification pathways to get the endorsements. You guys know what these are. You don't need to tell me what these are. It's what we do. It's what you guys do all the time. What do you need to be able to do to get that mains parallel generation endorsement class? You've got to be able to fulfill the standards, know the safety systems that apply, and the performance of safety functions required for mains parallel generation. So if you want to get an endorsed mains parallel generation, you must have held registration as an electrician for a period of not less than 2 years. And you must have adequate knowledge, training, skills, and experience satisfactory to the board of all those things. In addition to the prescribed work an electrician may carry out, anyone that's got the mains parallel generation endorsement can do all the PEW and mains parallel systems in accordance with the limits of their licence class. Doesn't mean that if you've got the endorsement, you can inspect it, or you can do any PEW outside your competence. And there may be further limitations in any terms and conditions set by the board in the future. Grandparenting process. First slide I can't read, that's awesome. Basically that says if prior to 1 September 2024, if you've had more than 3 entries on the high-risk database, then MB should approach you and invite you to see if you would like to have your mains parallel generation endorsement grandfathered over. After the September 24, there's manual applications, so any people that don't qualify for that but have still done a lot of work in the industry. Me, for instance, I don't do any work because I look after the team and look after them and do stuff, but I've still done a bit of that, so I can't get grandfathered over. So I'm going to have to do what we call a manual application, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then after 2025, if you want to get complete PW in the endorsed areas or wanting to supervise more than 2 people, you need to get the endorsed class. So there's a little bit of leeway for the next 12 months after 1 September. We're not going to stop everyone from working because that would be a bit hard on industry, especially as Brendan said before, there's a fair bit happening in there, so it'd be a bit harsh to stop you all from working in there. It's a QR code that anyone can scan to get more information. I don't know, they might be able to put that up somewhere if you can't get a photo of it now. Question time. Hit me. All right, see ya. Grandfathering process, I'm going to answer this question before it gets asked. Why did we say 3? I wanted 5 and I wanted it in 3 years, so I got shot down and told I wasn't allowed because it would be too hard on everybody. I actually wanted more than that, but I won't go into that. Happy medium, 3 over 6 years, so that we don't stifle industry, so that people, if all of a sudden we said you've got to have 5 or 10 and it's got to be in the last 2 years, half you guys in the room may not be able to get the endorsement and carry on working. So that's where the grandfathering came from. I know a lot of people in this room won't agree with it. You probably think we're dialing things down, watering it down a bit. Got to start somewhere. Again, once you've got that endorsement, you still got to comply, you still got to do everything as per the rules and regulations, and if you don't, someone will lay a complaint and you'll come up and see me in front of the board.
Quick one, so in terms of manual applications, and you're talking WDC micro-credentialing, do we have any timeline on when some teaching guidelines or training advice as to what the board will and won't accept might be available?
There is work going on in the background now. I haven't got a timeline to it, but as far as doing a manual application, what you can do is a statutory declaration. So if you can prove that you think you're competent to work in it and you can provide some evidence, you don't have to get a qualification. You can say, well, I've been doing this for 30 years. I haven't got any ROIs on or anything on the ROI database because I'm doing slightly different work from that, but I'm still think I'm pretty competent. You can do the statutory declaration, provide a bit of evidence, send it in. The board the ministry will assess it, and they'll either grant or not grant. They won't just not grant. They'll come back to you and say, could you provide us a little bit more information around this or something like that. Remembering a statutory declaration is a legal document. If you falsify that document, you will go to court.
Sorry, one over here. Oh, that's loud.
Yep.
What's the timeline on getting the standards cited, like this bill going through?
I've heard about it today, so ask Brendan.
On professional development points, on an annual basis to maintain the endorsement, is that envisaged by EWRB at this stage?
That's our next cab off the rank. So starting in February 2025, that's our we're going to start developing work on a CPD competency so that you can have an alternative pathway to achieve your 2-yearly renewal of your licence.
I've been signing COCs, installing solar systems. So do I just get a endorsement from my practice license?
Hopefully very soon.
Yeah, you should get something from the team about that, so you can grandfather over. If you don't, send in a manual application after 1 September.
So I need to be writing an email to you?
No. Hopefully you should get the grandfathering process sent to you. It's taking a while because there are a few of us around that might need it. But if you don't after 1 September, just send an email into the licensing team and asking if you can do a manual, or just do a manual application, they should grant it for you.
Cool, thank you.
Sorry, Russell, is there a blank form on that?
I have no idea, to be honest. I don't know what it is. I haven't looked on the system. I've been a bit busy, sorry. There should be feedback come out, or should be some guidance. On the there's a banner on the EWRB's page at the moment that says more information about the new licensing changes. So if you click on that, it should give you a bit of information as to where you need to go. Anyone that wants to, feel free to contact me. I'll try and help you, guide you through the process if I can.
Is there going to be something for apprentices coming through, because it's 2 years? as an electrician to get endorsements, but a lot of them have trained through and got their license to do it, so you're more competent than a lot of the guys that are already sparking.
I would suggest that if you do have trainees in that situation, that it's probably going to be you're probably going to have to give them at least 6 months out on their own, running their own jobs. But I would then gather a bit of information and send in a request to MB that they could get the endorsement earlier. Because if it is what they do and they can prove it, there will be case by case things like that the registrar will look at, and if he'll decide whether he can grant an exemption for that person because they've got it. And if he can't grant the exemption or doesn't want to grant the exemption, then he'll bring it up to the board and we'll make a decision around it.
Russell, what's the pathway to get the supervisor endorsement?
So if you are an inspector, you get it. And the pathway for it otherwise is 2 years post qualification. And again, if you shouldn't have been, because you're not meant to be, but if you have any way that you can prove that you can supervise, you can provide it to MB and they will consider it. That's another, we haven't really put a pathway in place because I'm pretty hot on this personally. I don't believe it's fair that you ask an electrician, freshly minted, now they're going out on their own, start to actually learn stuff and figure out how to do things, and they've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 people that they've got to supervise. I personally believe that they can supervise 2 people for the first 2 years, and then after that they can supervise as many as they like. That's just personal. And again, if you have a trainee, an electrician that's freshly registered and they've proven to you because they've been doing something else, that they might have been a project manager before they became an electrician, they can do this with their hands tied behind their back. Provide the information to MB and they'll make a decision on a pro rata basis.
Hey Russell, can you give us any indication on the requirements around gaining the endorsement and whether that's going to need a micro-credential pass in the future, or whether it's how that's going to sort of eventuate?
Yeah, so at the moment, we're working with the WDCs to try and figure out this micro-credentialing. It seems to be a bit of a swear word in industry at the moment. No one likes to talk about it too much. At the moment, we're sort of considering what's out there that you might be able to do. So I know that there's a SEANZ course that you can do. If someone had done that course and they weren't, that would qualify them to be able to get the endorsement at the moment. I think there's other courses around that you could do, just so long as they fulfil the requirements that the EWRB needs for you to become an endorsed person. If we will be able to accept that as training. And thanks everyone. I'll be around for a little while. Cheers.